Welcome to episode 245 of the Ageist podcast. My name is David Stewart. I am the founder of Ageist. I am joined today by our senior editor, Margaret May. And on the show today, we have the incomparable one and only Stacy London. Remember what not to wear? Stacy is just such an incredible human, and really looking forward to this conversation.
I don't want people to say, gosh, you look beautiful. I don't care whether they think that or not. I want them to say, you look capable. You look competent. You look fearless. You look strong. I don't think that going through midlife or menopause is not without very extreme challenges for some. But there is so much on the other side of it that it is worthwhile not only to know what you're getting into, but also to know what you're getting into when you come out of it, right?
This conversation goes way beyond fashion. Stacy opens up about menopause, couch rotting, postmenopausal power, rebuilding confidence one squat at a time. She's really fierce. She's funny, wildly thoughtful, so honest, and she's just a great voice in the midlife space today.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Margaret. We'll be back in just a moment after a quick word from our sponsors who make this program possible.
If you know me, you know I don't do filler snacks. I need something that works as hard as me. David protein bars deliver 28 grams of protein, 150 calories, and zero sugar. There's no crash, just clean fuel that actually tastes good. Made with egg white, collagen, whey, and milk protein, my favorite flavors are cinnamon roll, chocolate chip cookie dough, and salted peanut butter. Buy 4 boxes, get the 5th free at the link in our show notes today.
I had major knee surgery. I'm focused on healing myself. MitoPure from Timeline is helping me do just that, supporting my mitochondria for better energy and strength. Now in a zero sugar strawberry gummy. Yum. Get 20% off. That's 20% off at timelinenutrition.com with code AGEIST, AGEIST. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to Element, the zero sugar electrolyte drink mix that's become part of my daily ritual. Whether I'm working out or just powering through the day, it keeps me feeling sharp and hydrated. Try it for yourself. Go to drinkelement.com/ageist and get a free 8-serving sample pack with any purchase. That's drinklmnt.com/ageist. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's give Stacy a call right now. So, Stacy, what happens if you don't do things as you age?
You know, it's funny because if you don't do anything as you age, you kind of couch rot a lot. And what I find that happens is the longer you're in isolation, A, you lose touch with reality and everything that's going on in your brain just spirals. But B, it makes the world feel so small that you're almost agoraphobic. And that's why you have to keep your world big. And that doesn't mean in terms of distance. It means in terms of the people that you see or the activities that you do in a way that I have found is essential to aging, which is to continue to be curious and continue to find purpose. If you don't have that, getting old is really hard.
I would say if you don't have that and you're 22, life really sucks.
Right, but you've got a long road ahead of you. You've got 60 years of being miserable. But you know, I think that this holds true obviously for young people too. But I think the isolation and the epidemic of loneliness that we keep talking about really since COVID, I really do feel like nobody is really talking about elder generations and the kind of effect that COVID had on us. I still feel myself getting out, like really having to force myself to go out, to use public transportation, to go to crowded concerts, because I still feel a little like, "Ugh."
You know I got a wrap on this.
I would hope that you have a wrap on it. Why else would I have this conversation with you?
We have to think of having asset classes. And people often
Ooh.
think of asset classes in terms of money, right? Okay, I got this much in the bank, I got the stocks, bonds, I got real estate, whatever. Okay, that's one form of asset class, very useful, essential. You need financial assets. But your physicality is an asset class, and you need to
Mm,
continue to nurture that because you're either paying interest or you're gaining interest. Like you get to choose.
yes.
Your social network, same deal. It will shrink unless you pay attention to it.
You either regret it or you gain from it, right? And I agree when you talk about physical assets, I actually almost wonder, like, forget about Maslow's like hierarchy of needs. We know you need food, you need shelter, money for that, whatever. But this idea that if you can do something physical every day, it mentally changes the intention that you can do more. Like, the more that every time I go to the gym and I can do a 20-pound weight instead of a 15-pound weight, I wind up my whole day feels more accomplished, like I can accomplish more in a way that does not happen, like, talk therapy, and in a way, like, even succeeding at my jobs, it's none of those things. It's like it starts with physical nature and then becomes something kind of mental and psychological that you can work with.
I love the muscle in your arm. It's very boss.
It's really my glutes that need the work, I gotta be honest, and I hate doing glutes. I hate it.
But you'll have to come to my meathead gym with me. We've got this great, like, glute device. I just feel so powerful on it. I'll have to
Really? I mean, that's like it would support my lower back if I had better glutes.
Yeah,
I just
the
like,
glute.
those are the things that I'm really focusing on.
You got the guns, you gotta work on the buns.
I know. Guns and buns. That's the goal for this year. Not just guns, I want buns. I think I told you this when I was a kid. I have no coordination whatsoever. I was like, if I can't win, I won't play. That was my philosophy, right? I always wanted to be the smartest in the room. That was me growing up as a kid. Like, if I can't be great at it, I'm not doing it. I didn't like feeling my body. I hated exercise. I couldn't mesh mind and body very well. And since I've gotten older, that's like the big thing that I've been able to do. And every time I fall off from working out, I just all of a sudden everything gets darker. Everything gets smaller. Like, affects me more. I keep Meditations by Marcus Aurelius by my bed because I really believe in so much of what he says, right? And we know this. Like, you are not going to go through life without tragedy or heartbreak or loss affecting you, grief affecting you. But this idea of being the rock in the ocean and all of these waves that hit you and continue to batter you throughout your life, you stay still, right? You stay whole. And I think there are tenets of this in Buddhism and Stoicism. And I think that it is something that I'm really living in my body right now, which is the stronger I get, the more I feel like that rock.
I've witnessed this, like, I don't know, like 1,000 times. Exactly what you're explaining,
Yeah.
that as people increase their physical capacity, their imagination of what is possible physically increases because suddenly they've done something they didn't think was possible. So it's like, "Oh, that's possible. I didn't think it was possible. What else is possible?" But that carries over
Yes.
the
Agreed. That's what,
physical brain into everything
yes.
else. Yeah.
That's what's so crazy to me is, like, even working out makes you feel like you can dress better, right? And styling is very similar, especially because it's so visual. When you're like, "Oh my god, I can dress like this," it sort of makes you take more chances. It sort of makes you take more
Yes.
risks, you know? That's what
That's
it is.
exactly it. Your ability to embrace risk, which is, as we
Right.
started this conversation, you need to expand your world. Expanding your world is risky because
Yes.
right? You're gonna go out there. God only knows what's gonna happen to you. So
Yes.
if you feel strong and you can embrace that risk, you can become curious, or you can go to the concert, you can do all these different things because I'm probably gonna be all right.
And we talked about the fact there are gonna be 5 generations in the workforce at the same time. I just think we are in for, I don't wanna say bumpy, but I think as midlifers, it is going to be interesting to see how we decide to work together in ways that, we aren't gonna be replaced by younger people or AI. It's not even that I'm trying to be optimistic or pessimistic, it's more like I don't wanna get left behind. I'm 56 now. I'm taking a class in generative AI because I want to know exactly how that's going to work and what jobs are gonna be, like, eaten first, and the way in which we are going to the kind of financial health of midlife is something that I'm really focused on at the moment because we're gonna live longer, we're gonna make less. How are we managing that together as a community or as a generation?
That brings me to a question. So you've reinvented yourself like multiple times.
I'm a
Fashion editor,
Gemini.
TV host, entrepreneur. Stacy, what's driving that willingness to keep evolving? There's a lot of risk involved in each one of these things.
I know. There was a lot of risk and a lot of loss, but I do not look at, let's say, for starting state of menopause as a loss just because it was not a great financial decision. It was something that needed to be done. I needed to talk about menopause. I felt so strongly there was nobody talking about it. And really, the product was beside the point. It was to get a platform to start talking about this stuff and start talking about women's health and start talking about bodily autonomy and all of the things. And it really, honestly, the whole experience of running that company, A, brought me back to style because I was like, I hate being a CEO and I don't want to do it ever again in my life. But the great thing about it were there were skills that I learned, discipline that I learned, insights that I learned that brought me back to style for midlife. That Clinton and I went on tour a couple of years ago, and we just everywhere we went, women 40, 50, 60, 70 would be like, "Stacy, I don't want to look like my daughter. And where are the clothes?" And it brought me all the way back around to body weight redistribution in menopause, weight gain in menopause. You don't feel like yourself or look like yourself, hair loss, all of the things that really affect our physical identity are things that I can still help with. And I sort of forgot that style has that capability. And it wasn't until I kind of went through the whole menopause experience to kind of realize that. And that was sort of the impetus behind doing a clothing line with QVC, was to do something that sort of is the clothing you can wear, but it's much easier. Like all my pants are pull on and, most things have stretch that makes you look put together without wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, right? Because, like, we're getting more casual in this country, not less. So I really started to think about how to do it. Now, to get back to your question, what's driving me? I think what's always driven me was the pain of insecurity that I felt in myself. And if I could stop somebody else from experiencing that, if I could change somebody's mind about the way they look or feel about themselves, I will leave the planet a happy person. And that's what we tried to do on What Not to Wear. That's what we tried to do on Wear Whatever the F You Want, right? Which is the new show on Prime. And in each case, I think we were really mirroring, sort of the culture at the time. And there are certain things that did not age well about What Not to Wear. But having the opportunity to wear whatever the F you want reinvigorates me because it is part of the culture that we need to be a part of now in order to speak with generational mentorship. And I cannot stand doing nothing. I cannot stand doing nothing. I always say I'm exhausted, I want a vacation, but you put me on vacation and I don't know what to do with myself. So it's always really, I do think that from the personal comes the universal. You don't have to have the exact same story as me, but when I tell my story, you'll probably recognize some feelings of your own, and what, brought them up were different things. But when you have a multitude of kind of universal challenges and emotions and things that we see on a regular basis when it comes to the way that we treat ourselves and when it comes to the way that we look at our self-esteem, I think there are multiple ways to help people outside of therapy that allow them to feel stronger, better, and more capable about themselves. And that's something that I've always had as a focus because I've always wanted to be stronger, more secure, and more capable. And I think that that's what made me reach out. I had a Buddhist instructor when I was doing Tai Chi for a long time who said to me, "We teach what we need to learn." And I was like, "Of course, because that's where all of our interest and curiosity lies. Whatever it is that we're yearning to learn is probably what we should be talking about."
Sometimes I hear this thing, people tell me it's just too late. And I try and, my mantra is it's not too late.
It's never,
It's
ever too
never
late.
too late.
It's too late when you're in the ground, right? Then you're gonna have a problem walking around Central Park. But until then, it is never too late. And it is such a mantra that my friend Mally Roncall, she's a makeup artist who's now doing like clothing. She's like a mega star at QVC. And I've known her for 30 years. And because she used to do makeup when I was an editor. But she always says, it's never too late, you're never too old, and the best years are in front of you. And it's like a mantra that she does. She does Over 50 and Fabulous as an hour television show on QVC. There's a million things that she has done to promote this idea. And QVC as well has something called the Q50. 50 women over 50 doing things in the world that prove that it's not too late and you're never too old and the best years are in front of you. And I also think that, again, it is a mental shift. This does require work. I'm not saying to anybody this is easy. I don't think that going through midlife or menopause is not without very extreme challenges for some. But there is so much on the other side of it that it is worthwhile not only to know what you're getting into, but also to know what you're getting into when you come out of it, right? And this idea of curiosity, yearning to learn, wanting to be stronger. I don't want people to say, "Gosh, you look beautiful." I don't care whether they think that or not. I want them to say, "You look capable. You look competent. You look fearless. You look strong." That's what I want. It's a very different playing yourself a little bit smaller, being insecure when you're younger. That's what I think it's too late for. It's too late to stop believing in yourself, right? It's too late to be insecure anymore. Those are the things that I think by devoting yourself to new projects or new challenges, it's like body in motion stays in motion and a body at rest stays at rest. If you're that couch rotting person like I can be, it's really hard. Some days I'm like, "Oh my god, how am I gonna take a shower? Like, I just wanna lie here." But the more you can do things differently, right, then you have different outcomes. Anybody who thinks that your life will stay the same and not evolve, is a little bit naive. But even more than that, if you want things in your life to change, you're the one who has to change first. And I think that sometimes people think, no, no, I'll just do this differently and everything will be all right. No, you will have to change as well for things to change if you want them to go in a different direction. And it's part of the reason, like, I'm so curious now about different kinds of therapy. I'm so curious now I really wanna learn a second language. Like, I'm so curious about architecture. Like, all these things that I'm doing an internship with a master craftsman woodworker because I'm just obsessed with the wood he uses, and I'm fascinated by how talented he is, and I just wanna follow him around. If I learn to build a bird box, I'll be happy, you know? But I think that it's fascinating to be so excited again. And there were years where I wasn't because I felt physically weaker. I felt mentally weaker. I felt emotionally weaker. And that really turns into something very powerful. Like, I can't say it was this day that that changed or whatever, but I no longer experience menopause in the same way. And being on the other side of it has really given me so much hope.
What's the best thing about being Stacy today?
Today? Oh god, that's really hard. The best thing about being me today, well, there are 2 things. That I did squats on a Bozu, I did them perfectly, I didn't need anything to hold on to. My form is out of this world. I really should take pictures next time. But, a Bosu ball is not easy. I really and it makes you work all the little muscles. I was so proud of myself. I did 3 sets and of 15 each, and I was so proud of myself. And then I had an amazing, don't get jealous. I had an amazing vanilla oat milk iced latte that was so good. I would put it in my top 10. I think that's the good thing about being me today, and that I my last call is you. And then I get to go out and see friends.
We're going to continue my conversation with Stacy London in just a minute after a quick word from our sponsors.
I've always believed that what we eat, especially when we're on the go, can either push us forward or hold us back. And as someone who's constantly moving between travel, work, and workouts, I need snacks that actually do something, not just filler. That's why I'm a huge fan of David protein bars. These aren't your average protein bars pretending to be healthy. Each one packs 28 grams of protein, 150 calories, and 0 grams of sugar. That's right, 0. Built on the real science of satiety and energy, milk protein, egg white, collagen, whey, all blended to deliver a complete amino acid profile. It's like a little powerhouse in your pocket. No crash, no sugar spike, no regret. And the best part, they taste great. My favorites being the cinnamon roll, chocolate chip cookie dough, and salted peanut butter. These are bars made for people like us who care about how we feel after we eat, not just during. To be honest, I was eating these daily before David Protein ever reached out to partner. That's how much I believe in them. If you want to snack smarter, fuel better, and take one small step toward the life you're aiming for, this is a great place to start. Get to the link in our show notes. When you buy 4 boxes, you get the fifth free. That's a good deal for something that actually makes you feel good.
Today's show is also brought to you by Timeline. I want to talk to you about something that could change the way you think about aging and cellular health. We've all heard the phrase mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. But what does that really mean to us as we get older? Well, it turns out quite a lot. Mitochondria don't just produce energy, they are central to muscle strength, vitality, and how we age overall. By the time we hit our 30s, these little powerhouses start to decline. No good. Less energy, slower recovery, aging that you can feel. Yeah, we know what that's like. And I'll tell you, coming off of major knee surgery, I've never been more aware of just how important recovery and strength really are. That's why I've been taking MitoPure. It's a scientifically backed formula that supports mitochondrial health, helping increase muscle strength and energy in as little as 2 months. No extra workouts needed, just real cellular level support. And now, get this, it comes in a zero sugar strawberry gummy. Yum. Same science, same power, now easier to take every day. If you're thinking about trying Timeline, this is your sign. We're offering our listeners 20% off. That's 20% off your first purchase. Just use code AGEIST at checkout at timelinenutrition.com. That's AGEIST, 20% off. More strength, more energy from the inside out. We all took a lot of crap when we were younger, right?
It's funny that you say this because it's been one of those things where I feel that people pleasing has a lot to do with weak boundaries. And that can happen anytime in life. That can happen from the way you're raised. That can happen from this idea you want people to like you. You don't know how to form friendships. But this idea of weak boundaries, it's a little bit like, oh, that is a muscle that I have not been using. That is a muscle that you can build and you can create healthy boundaries as you age. And I really started to feel that. As a woman, I did not feel that powerful until I was in my 40s. And then menopause hit, which really was like, ooh, just like a punch to the gut. Now I feel like I'm getting that sense back. Like I'm really getting that feeling back of building boundaries that don't overstep what I'm responsible for in friendships and what I'm not responsible for. And what I'm responsible for when I go to the doctor and what that doctor is responsible for. Like it's sort of just changed. It's given me a lot more courage to speak my mind. And instead of being like, oh, well, doctors know what they're talking about. Okay, thank you. I'm on my way. Like now I question or I research or I do everything before I come to a doctor because I want to be prepared and I want my questions answered. I do not want to be dismissed. I do not want to be misunderstood. So there is a lot about postmenopausal life that I think is about strengthening a certain kind of emotional infrastructure that you can't do without having gone through it.
What I feel like is this conversation we've had, we're revolving around this idea of authenticity. So
Yes.
we talked about style, we talked about boundaries and risk, which is all part of authenticity. And what
Mhm.
I understood you say here is that menopause was a sort of a reactive agent to push you into even a greater sense of authenticity.
A greater sense of authenticity, but not the same authenticity that I had when I was younger, right? It authenticity changes. And one of the things that bothers me so much, and one of the reasons I really struggle to be like, hey guys, I'm walking down the street and I had avocado toast for, lunch. Who gives a shit? Who really gives a shit? Everything about being on your camera is performative. And I find that very, very hard, right? So I find it really I try very hard to be authentic. I try to be open. I try to be honest, all of those things. But the minute I put a phone in front of me, I feel like I'm not telling the truth. I feel like I'm impersonating myself because it feels like that's what it is. If you're doing it for other people, you're performing it. And so I think that authenticity is something that we're going to start to see even more in real life. And the way that it's showing up in social media is look, I don't know if you're going to use any of the visuals from this, but like I'm not wearing one shred of makeup. I've got my workout clothes on. So, I may have my hair up in a bun and I'll be sweaty outside and I'll do an Instagram story. I'm not made up. It's not like I'm like, woo, look at me, like I'm going on television. It's just who I am. And I think that people appreciate that a lot more than what I would call the influencers because we've moved past that. I think we've moved past the attention economy. We're waiting for the AI economy. And in the meantime, we're sort of stuck between the two. And funnily enough, it's why I love Substack. I started a Substack because I own the IP, but also I feel like I want to write. And having a schedule where every Tuesday my entries go up, I feel really proud of myself for having done that. It also is a great way to express myself without it constantly feeling like I'm being inauthentic. One of the things that I do when I write is I read everything as an article out loud. And if it doesn't sound exactly like my voice, I change it. I put in all those things so that really what you are reading, you can hear me in it. And authenticity is going to be harder and harder to fake. What is authenticity in the face of AI? All these things that we didn't think were possible, I don't think we are aware of all the things that are on the horizon.
I would agree with that. I think that once this intersection of human biology and computational power intersect, which they're starting to now, just what it means to be human, I think in 20 years is
Exactly.
going to be
That's why I wanna say community in real life is what I think is going to become important to some generations. Some generations grew up living online, they grew up with screens, they'll sit in their pods, but I think that, this idea of being in nature or being with other humans is going to actually be about community very soon.
we spoke about earlier in the conversation about asset classes, your community and your ability to grow that and engage with that community, I think that's the part that counts. It's not the purple potatoes or whatever other kind
Right,
of nonsense.
right, or
It's the
the not
community.
eating dairy. Exactly.
Airplane doesn't make any sense. But I think I mean, we see this in the platforms that I work with in Aegis and Super Age. That's like the name of the game. People want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to belong. That's like sort of the definition of being human.
Completely agree. Completely agree. You wanna belong. And I think it's gonna be harder to feel that belonging online, right? I mean, Shelley Turkle wrote that book Alone Together, and that's essentially why we are having this epidemic of loneliness and people who don't feel connected to each other, and nobody knows how to date anymore.
I was thinking the other day about like the amount of sex that we had when we were like teenagers.
Was astronomical.
Like unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
And
Unbelievable. And kids today, they're all in
unthinkable today.
polycules. Are they having sex? I don't think so. Nobody's
No.
into sex. It's weird. It's Gen X and, like, some menopausal women, I guess. I don't know. But it not Gen X, Gen Z. I feel like they're I don't know, their values are so different. And, like, again, it's not like I do not wanna be my grandfather, but I also don't wanna, like, just fit in with Gen Z because that's gonna keep me young. It's that I really wanna understand different
Yeah.
viewpoints from different generations in order to see how we can work best together, right? That's always the goal. And I think the Gen Z and Gen X, for whatever reason, are very funny in the way that they relate to each other. And I think that we're sort of like we both hate millennials. It's like my sister and I are both Geminis, but my other sister's a Taurus, and she's just like, she's not a Gemini.
Well, I
So I do. I wonder.
I think it's about I was listening to this thing the other day about this sort of ridiculousness about you always want to be the dumbest person in the room. Well, if the other people are smarter than you, what are they doing in the room with you?
Well,
Um,
exactly, but that's their problem. I make sure I'm the dumbest, and then they're all on their own
thought about this a little bit. I think it's really about being with the people who surprise me the most or
or
bring me the
inspired.
most interesting ideas. And I think when I talk to younger people, because they're their wiring is like so different than mine. They say really surprising things to me. And
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, that's unusual. I hadn't thought of that way. I'm not sure I agree with that, but wow, that's really good to like have this discussion and have you explain that to me.
Yeah, I would argue that this is probably also part of being human is being empathetic or
Yeah.
sympathetic, right? I mean, there are ways in which we relate to each other. It's what I was saying before. From the individual comes the universal, is that idea that we do have all these essential things in common, and yet we continue to kind of make, problems where if we could listen to each other.
Before you go, I there's just so much. I feel like you're one of these people. I could just like talk for hours with you. I just want to make one comment. You are one of the most insightful, intellectually curious people I have ever met, and you focus it on style, which I think is just fabulous.
You know what? It's so funny. Like what we said before about I had to get away from style to find it again. And
Yeah.
really, it has become because I knew that, fashion had the power to transmogrify the way somebody sees themselves. But at the same time, I wasn't putting that together with menopause. And the same kinds of things that really stop people from feeling their best, right, are things that they are not willing to look at. Like if I hate a body part, I'm going to ignore it instead of really look at your body holistically and like do what's best for your body, not just that one part, right? Same thing with exercise. You want to make sure your whole body is getting involved. And it is this idea that there are quick ways, not permanent ways, but quick ways to get a sense of self-esteem and self-confidence by the way that you put yourself together. There is something about that agency that we have when we put on that fabulous blouse that we got at a thrift store for $3, but we know it looks great on us, right? And that agency when you go and you like lift weights. There is something about the choice that you make and that you make it is part of the pleasure.
Before we go, 3 words of encouragement for our listeners who feel like maybe their best days are behind them. What would you say to
Get out of bed. That's 4 words.
them?
Get off the couch. Wait, that's 4 words. Oh, well. Stop couch rotting. I'm gonna be really honest, I go through phases where I am a serious couch rotter, and the last few weeks, I really felt that way, and I started to notice how much smaller my world was getting. I started to notice how much smaller my thinking was getting, and that I could spiral around one topic all day as opposed to reading and getting excited or, going to the movies or going to a museum or just seeing friends like I did yesterday. I went to the park. I went to see my friend's new apartment, but it was the idea of interacting, of showing up, which also allows people to know that they can count on you. And I used to struggle to show up because of my insecurity and fear. And now I just show up. I just show up. I'm like the insecurity and the fear. That can like I don't have time for that. I'm not pushing it down. I'm choosing not to accept it. It's like package returned. I am ready to go. I realize how much better it is when I am around people that I care about who care about me, where there is no pretense, where I have no expectation that they're going to hire me for something or, that anything they're going to want to marry me, whatever it is. I don't have that expectation now. I know really the community and being, in service of other people. Both of those things are I mean, it's almost cringe to say them in a way, but they really are the basis of so much that we do in life. And it makes me sad when people think just because they may be, I don't know, neurodivergent or differently abled or whatever it is, that they don't have the same opportunity to feel that kind of agency and to feel that kind of adventure. And I think it's something that we need to work towards. Even in fashion, I'm seeing it already. People have been talking about adaptive fashion for Alzheimer's patients, for people that have lost limbs. There is something going on that I feel like is this movement towards allowing people to love themselves. Now, at the same time, there's, the orange Vader on the other side. But I really do think that one of the most interesting things, I think the most interesting art will come out of this period. I think people will grow immensely during this period because you don't grow without turbulence. You don't grow if everything is great. Or if you're like me, a constant worrier, you're like, when is the other shoe going to drop? But really, the point is live for now, live for today. Like, go do something. I did a couple of 3 words there, so you can, choose it every one you want.
Stacy, you are one of those people that make me better. I am a better version of David having listened to you. And I got to go to PT to take care of my knee, but I just want to
Yes,
say you are a baller human.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, that was such an awesome conversation between you and Stacy, David. I'm so curious how you two initially met.
That is such a good question. I feel like I've known her forever. We met maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I took her picture, and we did an ageist interview, and then we've been buddies ever since. So she's just like wicked, wicked smart. And we have all these friends, we know all these people in common, and we sort of come out of like similar worlds. And she's somebody that she makes me feel smarter just like being around her. She's just like, oh my God, what a brain.
Well, she has such a great energy. And again, my only exposure to Stacy was through What Not to Wear, which I feel like most people will know her from because I watched that show religiously as a kid. And even then, she just had such a spunk and energy and spark about her that seems to have only gotten brighter as she's gotten older.
She's really just ups the game, like, and I love people who I feel anyway expand my capacity just by being around them. And she's a good friend, and I feel grateful for that.
And her outlook on life too, when you both were talking, she said something about adventure. Like the more you work at something, the bigger an adventure life feels, which I think just totally captures her whole
Yeah.
ethos and approach to life, which yeah, she's just you can tell she just has such a there's just a hunger to experience everything.
The phrase I really love is couch rotting. Like she's really so like the way she verbalizes things is great. Now she's like a gym bunny. I mean, I've known her for a long time, and that's sort of like, that's interesting. Okay, something new.
Yeah, she strikes me as someone that I think a lot of people might make assumptions about right off the bat, and she has a like a dynamicness to her that I think would surprise a lot of people. Okay, when we come back, I will be sharing 3 health and wellness stories that caught our attention this week.
It's hot out there. And if you're like us, you're chasing sunlight, long hikes, and maybe even a splash in the ocean when you can. But all that fun comes with a hidden cost: hydration. That's where Element comes in. LMNT. It's not just about quenching thirst, it's about replacing the essential electrolytes your body actually needs. Now, I have to mention this: their special summer flavor, lemonade salt, sold out earlier than expected due to overwhelming demand. Element is considering bringing it back as a permanent flavor, but in the meantime, I recommend stocking up on orange salt, my personal favorite this summer. It's bright, citrusy, and it keeps me sharp whether I'm on a trail or at my desk. Hydration is one of those simple daily wins that stack up over time. So visit drinkelement.com/ageist and get yourself a free 8-serving sample pack with the purchase of any electrolyte drink mix. That's DRINKLMNT.com/ageist. Stay salty, stay strong. What's our news of the week this week? What are we going to talk about? What you got?
All right, so our first item is focused on longevity lifestyles, why your 40s are prime time. No midlife crises, your 40s can be your ultimate growth decade and beyond. Our second item is all about cold plunges. So, though they don't slash pounds like some people have previously claimed, they do offer a lot of other benefits, such as mood boosting, lowering inflammation, improving circulation. So, a lot of new studies kind of have cracked that myth that it could slash pounds related to the scale. And our third item that we have here is could be maybe a little woo woo for some people, but it is science supported. So, talking about how the full moon can impact your sleep and how to counteract that. So, on July 10th, we actually had what's called July's buck moon. And so, if you were feeling kind of weird in terms of how you were sleeping, the science does support that. So, we can sleep less deeply during full moons, but we can use things like eye masks to counteract that and other biohacking activities to get better sleep.
Hmm. All right, let's go to this first one. 40s are your new prime time. Really, I'm 66. This is the best decade of my life. The thing about your 40s, though, is that as far as physiologically, it sort of sets you up for going forward. So the 40s, although they actually are like they have these sort of U curves of happiness, you sort of bottom out there.
Mhm.
The thing is, that's sort of the decade where you really want to get like your priorities straight about health and wellness. Like in your 30s, you can still sort of like, yeah, okay, whatever. But by the time you get to your 40s, you got to start taking these things seriously. You're either accumulating damage, which you're going to have to pay for later, or you can set yourself up to something that you much better life further on. And this is really probably the biggest change population wise in the last 30, 40 years is that it used to be like 40 was just like game over. But then it was like, 2 martinis at lunch and people smoke 4 packs of cigarettes a day. And of course, this, this will lead to a shorter lifespan. Duh. And people don't do that anymore now. Gosh, I feel grouchy today about headlines. All right. Maybe the next one will be good.
All right, so next up was the cold
Ah,
plunges.
cold plunges. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, good things about cold plunges. One, it's going to affect your mood. So, before there were SSRIs, the way that they would deal with people who had depression or, mood disorders was cold water. You would get in cold water or they would hit you with a cold hose. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. It will definitely elevate your mood. So, no doubt about that. It will also deal with inflammation, which is sort of good and bad depending on because there's good inflammation. Like if you've been to the
Mhm.
gym, you don't want to get in cold water because you're going to sort of break the chain of the good inflammation there. But there's sort of this nonsense about you're going to lose weight. Okay, let's be real about this. So, how long are you going to be in that cold water? A minute, 5 minutes. So your metabolism is elevated. Yes, you have to burn some calories to keep yourself warm. This is true, but it's not that long of a period of time. And there was also this talk about brown fat. Okay, you're going to increase your brown fat. What you know how much brown fat you have in your body? It's like a couple of tablespoons. So like, really? I'm not really convinced of this sort of thing. I like it for the mental component of it. I think if you want to lose weight, increase your activity. That, like what are you eating? That seems like a better formula than going in cold water.
Yeah, and the crux of this study actually indicated the inverse. So it indicated that cold plunges could actually increase food intake, which could potentially
Oh.
offset any calories burned during immersion. So, um, yeah, it really kind of fully
Oh.
debunked this idea of cold plunges helping with weight loss, like you're just saying. There are many other things that you can do if that is one of your health goals. Our last one, the full moon. How have you been sleeping this week? Have you noticed any shifts in your sleep schedule? Or I kind of have, but maybe that's just the heat from where I am.
Yeah, the 10,000 degrees.
Yeah, I'm
The
like, what is it? Is it the moon? Is it the tides? Is it just because my
eh,
partner is spread eagle in the bed and I'm almost rolled off? Is it
y I actually the last 3 or 4 days, I've slept a little less than normal.
like with anything, regardless if it's the moon or if it's just stress or whatnot? This article was pointing to the fact that you can make adjustments to encourage more deep full sleep that we've talked about here. I've been actually using the binaural.
Oh, those are great, aren't they? Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah,
That
yeah.
puts you in, like, a really nice zen state of calm, but also, blackout curtains, a really good eye mask. There are many things that you can do to kind of help your body relax into a deeper state of sleep. So those were their only suggestions. You can't really just kinda gotta wait till the moon shifts and does its next thing.
I'm not gonna pay any attention to the moon. I gotta tell you, Margaret, like, I have other things to worry about rather than, like, calendar, like, the cycles of the moon. I may not sleep enough tonight. I don't know. I have other things on my mind.
I wonder if it's more of a placebo effect too. You're like, "Oh, no, the moon, it's gonna be
Exactly. I mean,
I'm not gonna sleep out tonight."
I don't know. Mercury is retrograde. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's something to all of this stuff. There are other bigger effects, like, what did I have for dinner, or am I worried about something? I don't
Yeah. If it is, it's such a small kind of shift that I think most of us can point to other things that might be disrupting our sleep.
Thanks, everybody, for spending a little bit of time with us today. Your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it with us. Wishing everyone an awesome week. No couch rotting this week. Get out there in the world. It's the summer. Get yourself a little vitamin D. We'll see you next week. Take care now.
That's it. Thanks so much for being here with us. Stay strong, stay curious, and we'll see you guys next week.